Your child might enter kindergarten already knowing shapes and colors, but will they possess the confidence to truly engage and explore? It turns out, the most vital math skills aren't necessarily what parents anticipate. Overlooking them could leave your child struggling to catch up for years to come. Today we'll discuss 5 fundamental concepts that kindergarten teachers wish every parent understood, not because they're complex, but because they often arise in everyday moments that parents might not recognize as learning opportunities. 5 key concepts. None require flashcards or formal lessons, just a bit of awareness. And the first one, most parents are already doing it. They simply may not realize they're fostering mathematical thinking. There's a crucial distinction between rote counting and truly understanding quantity. A child can flawlessly recite numbers from 1 to 20 yet still not fully grasp the concepts of more or less. Number sense is that intuitive grasp of amounts, the ability to glance at a group of objects and estimate, compare, and reason about their quantity. Kindergarten teachers frequently observe this in September. A child effortlessly counts to 20 but freezes when asked which of 2 piles contains more, because they've merely memorized a sequence. They haven't yet developed the mental framework that gives numbers meaning. And this understanding is far more important than many parents realize. Cognitive research demonstrates that number sense lays the groundwork for 2 essential skills. Subitizing, the ability to instantly recognize the quantity of a small group, like knowing 3 berries are 3 without needing to count, and proportional reasoning, such as intuitively understanding that half a cookie is smaller than a whole one. These are the skills that minimize feelings of overwhelm when formal math instruction begins. Children with strong number sense not only achieve better scores, they also approach math class with curiosity rather than anxiety. So, instead of solely focusing on drilling counting, try this. While serving snacks, pause and say, "You have more crackers than I do. Let's see how many you have." You're not lecturing, you're observing together. That simple act of comparison, of viewing quantity as something dynamic and interesting rather than fixed and testable, builds a crucial foundation for future learning. In the classroom, this translates to the child who confidently raises their hand when the teacher asks them to compare groups, who can estimate whether their answers are reasonable, and who approaches word problems with confidence instead of confusion. Once a child understands quantity, the next vital layer is precision. This is the skill that connects counting to real meaning, the understanding that each number represents one specific item. Without it, you might see double counting, where a child rapidly counts 1, 2, 3, 4, but their finger only touches 2 blocks. One-to-one correspondence prevents that common early confusion. I can count, but I don't know how many I actually have. Teachers often observe this in the initial weeks of kindergarten. A child counts a row of blocks, reaching 7, but there are only 5 blocks present. When asked to recount, they get 6, then 8, a different answer each time despite the same blocks being there. This isn't because they can't count, but because they haven't grasped that each number must correspond to exactly one object. One number, one thing. It may seem minor, but in the classroom, it's the difference between keeping up and falling behind during those critical early weeks. The wonderful thing is, you can teach this effortlessly. While setting the table, 1 fork, 1 plate, 1 fork, 1 plate. While climbing stairs, count each step as their foot lands. While putting away toys, 1 block in the box, 2 blocks in the box, 3 blocks in the box. No lesson, no test, just narration. And the child's brain makes 2 crucial connections. First, that each number corresponds to one specific item. And second, that the last number they say represents the total quantity. This foundation allows them to trust their counting and, ultimately, trust themselves. Now they can count accurately, but can they predict what comes next? Here's a fascinating insight from neuroscience. The human brain is a pattern recognition machine. From birth, we constantly scan for what comes next. It's how we make sense of chaos, how we learn language, and how we develop a sense of safety in the world. And math? Math is the language of patterns. When a child learns to recognize and predict patterns, they aren't just preparing for addition and subtraction. They're building a mental blueprint that helps their brain categorize information, focus attention, and approach new material with curiosity rather than fear. In the classroom, teachers constantly watch for this. When they write a pattern on the board, red, blue, and ask, "What comes next?" Some children immediately light up, while others stare blankly, waiting to be told the answer. The difference isn't intelligence, it's exposure. Pattern recognition is also deeply connected to executive function. The skills that help children regulate attention, follow multi-step instructions, and persevere through challenges. So when you fold laundry and say big sock, small sock, big sock, small sock, what comes next? You're not just filling time, you're wiring resilience. Try this. While walking, take big step, little step, big step, little step. While building with blocks, red, blue. Then pause and let them place the next one. While reading. The pattern in this story is that the mouse gets bigger on every page. What do you think happens on the next page? Simple patterns are everywhere, and each time they predict correctly, their confidence grows. Patterns help children see order. Shapes help them see structure. Ask most parents what shapes are for, and they'll say geometry. But educators know something different: spatial awareness. The ability to recognize shapes, understand how objects relate in space, and visualize rotation and transformation supports far more than just math. It supports reading, writing, problem solving, and even the ability to distinguish AB from AD. That's spatial reasoning, the ability to organize thoughts on a page, to understand that a map represents real space, and to figure out which puzzle piece goes where. In kindergarten, teachers use shapes constantly, not just in math, but in every transition, every instruction, and every organizational system. Sit in a circle, line up in 2 rows, find all the triangles. Children with strong spatial awareness move without hesitation, finding their spot, organizing their materials, and settling into the day. And it starts with something as simple as naming shapes in the world. In the car, that sign is a circle, that window is a rectangle. In the kitchen, this plate is round, that sandwich is a triangle. At home, the rug is a flat rectangle, the soup can is a solid cylinder. No worksheets, no memorization, just a gentle, ongoing conversation that helps a child see structure in their environment. And when they walk into a classroom and the teacher says, "Find the square," they don't just know the answer, they feel capable. They've learned to recognize. Now we teach them to reason. This is where logic begins. Comparing and sorting teach children to look for similarities and differences, to create categories, and to make decisions based on attributes. And these aren't just math skills, they're reasoning skills. The ability to sort by size, color, type, or function builds the mental flexibility that helps children follow instructions, organize information, and approach problems systematically. In the classroom, teachers constantly ask children to compare. Which group has more? Which tower is taller? Which solution makes more sense? And children who've practiced this kind of thinking at home, not through formal lessons but through everyday routines, respond with confidence. Here's what this might look like in September. The teacher says, "Sort these objects into 2 groups, any way you want." Some children hesitate, looking up for permission, waiting to be told the right way. Others immediately notice specific features, what teachers call attributes. They might say, "I'm putting all the bumpy ones here and the smooth ones there." They aren't guessing, they're categorizing. That flexibility is what we're building. While doing laundry, let's put the small socks here and the big socks there. While unloading groceries, cold things in the fridge, dry things in the pantry. While cleaning up toys, which ones go together? Why did you put those in the same box? This is logic in action. Your child is learning to make decisions based on attributes, the same skill that will help them organize their thoughts, follow multi-step instructions, and approach new problems systematically. Simple, ordinary, and cognitively powerful. Now, here's something that doesn't usually come up at kindergarten orientation. These 5 concepts, most curriculum guides mention them, but here's what the guides often don't say. It's not solely whether children know these concepts that determines their experience. It's whether they feel safe using them. Because there's a pattern educators see that has nothing to do with ability. A child walks into kindergarten bright and capable, and within the first few weeks, something shifts. A teacher asks a simple question, "How many do you see?" And the child goes quiet, eyes down, not because they don't know, but because they're suddenly uncertain whether knowing is safe. And this hesitation, this quiet loss of confidence, often begins long before kindergarten. Many adults carry tension around math, leftovers from their own school years, moments when they felt lost or embarrassed, when a concept never quite clicked. And children are extraordinarily perceptive. They absorb our body language, the slight edge in our voice when we say, "I was never good at math either." They learn not just numbers but attitudes toward numbers. Recent neuroscience research reveals something striking. Math anxiety isn't just emotional, it's physiological. When a child feels anxious about math, their working memory literally shrinks, the mental workspace they need to solve problems becomes smaller. This means that early math experiences don't just teach content, they teach children whether their brain is a safe place to try difficult things. But here's the good news, and here's why we started with those 5 concepts. When you embed math in everyday life, when it's woven into snack time, laundry, and car rides, something fundamental changes. Math stops being this high-stakes thing that happens at a desk. It becomes just another way you explore the world together. And when we lower the stakes for ourselves, we lower the stakes for them. If you're feeling relieved right now, that's intentional, because every single concept we just covered, you're likely already incorporating into your daily routines. Every time you set the table, fold laundry, pour snacks, or notice shapes in the world, you're creating math moments. The only difference between what you're already doing and what we've just described is awareness. Not effort, not curriculum, just the quiet recognition that learning doesn't need to look like teaching. That a child builds number sense while helping you count strawberries. That they learn patterns while stacking blocks. And that spatial reasoning grows while they figure out which container the leftovers fit into. Research in early childhood education consistently shows that the most powerful learning happens in context, when concepts are embedded in real tasks that matter to the child, not because the task is designed to teach, but because the child is genuinely engaged. So you don't need to add more to your day. You just need to notice what's already there. These 5 concepts don't just prepare children for kindergarten. They protect them from early discouragement. Because when a child walks into school already familiar with these ideas, they sort objects without hesitation, they spot patterns before the teacher finishes asking, and they see shapes in instructions and know exactly what to do. Instead of uncertainty, something clicks. I've done this before. And that recognition becomes confidence, confidence becomes resilience, and resilience becomes curiosity. That willingness to try, to wonder, and to persist even when something feels hard. That's the foundation of lifelong learning. This is what educators mean when they say that early childhood isn't about content mastery. It's about identity formation. The story that begins with, "I can figure things out," is completely different from the story that begins with, "I'm not good at this." The first story opens doors, the second one quietly closes them. You don't need to turn your home into a classroom. You just need to stay curious with your child. Because every time they compare, count, sort, or notice a pattern, they're not just learning math, they're learning something deeper. That their ideas matter, that trying is safe, and that belief may be the most important thing they carry into kindergarten, not because it guarantees perfection, but because it makes space for what matters most, for mistakes, for questions, for wonder. And in the end, that's what we're really preparing them for. Not just the first day of school, but a lifetime of learning.